When it comes to building a culture of workplace mental health, I'll tell you what, there are definitely some challenges along the way. In this next episode, we're going to be talking with Daryl McAvena, who describes some of the challenges and how he overcame them as they built at his company a culture that supports workplace mental health. Join us for this next episode of the Flourishing Workplace Podcast, and we're going to dive into that conversation. You're listening to the Flourishing Workplace Podcast, a movement to reimagine work brought to you by thought leaders and industry professionals. Discover how to create cultures where people belong, grow, and contribute fully. At Flourishing Workplace, we're changing the world by changing the workplace. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flourishing Workplace Podcast, and I'm so excited again to have with us Daryl McAvena, and he is the president of what is called Performance Freight Management, a logistics company here in Southern Alberta. We're really excited. If you missed the last episode, please do tune in, because Daryl spent a little bit of time sharing not only his own mental health journey, but the mental health journey of his team, and how he is a business leader, a business owner, is working hard to support that. And that's what Flourishing Workplace is all about. And so again, make sure you tune in. And so welcome back, Daryl.
Thanks.
Yeah, so in our last episode, Daryl, you spent, I thought it was a pretty cool theme around, the topic of vulnerability. And, a culture of vulnerability, I think, is so important to create. You probably have the majority of men as employees. Am I accurate in that?
No, it's the opposite, actually.
It's the opposite, okay.
Yeah.
So
I had two men and the rest are women. So yeah.
And so what impact does that have, do you think, in terms of creating a culture of vulnerability, knowing that you've got both women and men in the same workplace?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is, you've got a balance of whether it's male or female. It's just vulnerability. You got to have it in your workplace. And sometimes we're all focused on the core, which is, revenue and generating customer service levels, and you don't want to fail, in your business. But ultimately, you got to have that balance of comfort for them and know that they can talk to you about things.
Love that. So in our last episode, you had talked about bringing in a psychologist who spent some time with you and the team and gave some tools. Beyond the tools that the psychologist gave, of course, you can pull on some of those, but in terms of your own approach going forward, what are some of the tools that have helped you create that culture of workplace mental health?
Well, I think the biggest one is that we use backpacks as our kind of our analogy a lot, but not knowing what bricks are in somebody's backpack that's weighing them down so heavy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want to throw bricks at you.
Okay.
And there's a reason why they're doing that, right? Because the bearing of all that weight and the bricks are so heavy, they're challenged with things. Yeah. Well, if they're throwing things, whether it's even your own staff, it could be your customer base, your vendors, they're doing that for a reason. And if you just bypass that and not really focus on what that is, or if you react in a situation where, well, that's unacceptable, you just don't know what they're dealing with. So that's, I would say, the number one takeaway for me, and the tool that I use quite a bit, is that I really don't know what's in your backpack, but I sure want to help you lighten that load, or at least pull one brick out.
Yeah, I love that. And what a great metaphor, because, imagine, so-and-so comes into work today. And of course, the expectation is a set of tasks or roles that they have to fulfill. And yet, of course, if they're so weighed down by the burdens of life, it becomes really difficult to perform. So what have you noticed when people are able to lighten that load a little bit? And I'm not so much talking about workload, because that is what that is, but more so the mental and emotional toll that people so often carry into the workplace. What are some of the outcomes that happen when there's a safe place for them to process some of that?
Well, I think the number one thing is start to adjust and deal with change very well.
Right.
They're having the ability that I just let the air out of the balloon. It comes out.
Yeah.
Lighter load, bricks out of the pack.
Right
I
on.
feel a little bit lighter. And now it's, they're wondering how I'm doing, or they're listening, or, and my check-in calls, right? Like they think I'm maybe doing a one-on-one all the time, but it's just, hey, how's it going? And I just listen for certain things. And I think for them, and even customers that I talk to, it's just the ability that, everything's lighter. And now it puts a different set of lenses on for them. They see things a little bit differently, because they're scared that somebody's going to get mad at them because they're freaking out.
Right.
Because some people like to come back with you with a bit of anger, when they're dealing with something.
Yeah. You're a super skilled leader, because I think oftentimes, leaders look at a set of variables. like, how are my people doing? And they recognize that maybe my people aren't doing so good, but then they go and try to change all the situations and circumstances around that. But in some ways, that might not be the best use of your time and energy. I mean, you can't change or fix everything. But I like how you're putting an effort and an emphasis into sort of changing their mental and emotional state. And in Flourishing Workplace, we talk a lot about, are people in their amygdala, which is their fear emotion center, or are they in their prefrontal cortex, where they can do creativity and strategy and innovation? And sometimes all it takes is a conversation, right, to move them from that place of fear and overwhelm to that place where now they can think clearly. And so I think that's really, really awesome. So as you've been rolling this out with your team, have you noticed any challenges along the way? Like, has there been any blockages, any barriers, or even just any friction?
Yeah, in that type of space, you're always going to deal with change.
Yeah.
Right. And so my goal was always to continue to just prepare them for change. And the way I would do that is that you have to know the behavioral responses from each of them. You can't pump them up with positivity all the time. Oh,
Right.
yeah, we're going to have a great day. No, I'm not.
Right.
Like, so you have to adjust that. But that would be some of the pushback is that, oh, this is a positivity train.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you're just trying to pump me up. But in reality, what it is I'm just trying to give the space
Yeah.
for you to talk about something that you're dealing with. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like if you tell me something, it's actually a blessing for me.
Yeah.
That you opened up and said something to me.
Yeah.
It helps me too, because it opens up the door for all of us, right?
Right on.
That we're dealing with it together. So.
That's awesome. And it's amazing because we spend a lot of time in Flourishing Workplace on kind of the neuroscience. And when that place of psychological safety is created so that people can actually open up, it's not about positive or negative, but it's unbelievable the shift in people's brain, actually, even in their brain chemistry. They're now in a place where they've got some dopamine flowing, they've got some oxytocin flowing, and they're ready to think, and they're ready to process, and they're ready to move forward. So again, super well done. Hats off to you. I wonder, like, when you think about the impact of people on the job and having a good mental health profile, not perfect, but healthy, what impact do you think, if that is happening on the job, ripple effect does that happen in their families, in their home life, in their friendships, in their community? Talk about the ripple effect.
Yeah, once you're locked down and one location doesn't have psychological safety. So if it's the workplace, you just tend to feel that everywhere else you go doesn't allow that. So once you get home, it's built up. You're dealing with it. It's starting to build more. Rough day at work, rough day with a customer, whatever it might be, your boss. And it just carries on through it. So I think the toughest challenge that most people are dealing with, and I dealt with it myself, is that I would get home and just don't want to deal with anybody. And, anger would build up and then I would explode. Right. So you're starting to put that combustion feeling in your stomach and it's going to burst it sometimes. So that ripple effect can be very dangerous in your mental capacity. But B, it's not good. You got the cortisol drip and your body doesn't respond well. Right. So ultimately, if you can change your mindset going into it, like people want to listen, well, talk to them then.
Right on. So for that business owner or leader who's listening into this podcast right now and they're thinking, okay, this is all great, it sounds a little fluffy to me, what would be the number one reason that you would share with them today that they might want to invest in the mental health of their people?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to psychological safety, the key is you want your workplace to be safe. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, but if you're doing standard operating procedures, ISO standards, all these standards to keep people safe and flourishing, what about their mental health?
Yeah.
Give them the safe space there. And it doesn't mean you have to put a lot of effort into it. All it means is just tell them, hey, if you want somebody to open up and talk, help them out, give them some vulnerability at that. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just let them talk and they will. It's just taking that first step and giving them that first step. As a leader, we have to give them the first step.
Yeah, we sure do. So, and have you seen any linkage at all between better mental health for your people and sort of the development of bench strength or leaders within your team? What have you noticed there?
Yeah, it's huge. Like once you start opening up the door to give them the ability to kind of walk through their journey and understand where they're at, and then starting to see them learn with mental health, and then it transpires into their actual workplace, it's incredible. Like they elevate to the next level immediately because they start to feel better, as you said, but they also see the improvement where, wow, that was pretty easy to take that first step. Now it just seems like a jog.
Yeah.
Before I know it, I'm going to be sprinting through my mental health issues.
Love that. Wow, that's great. Well, there you have it, everybody. That's Daryl McAvena. He is the president of Performance Freight Management. Just got a great story, got a great approach. And I love the fact that we don't have to choose, do I develop my leaders or do I support their mental health? It sounds like when we invest in one, that creates the other. And so, Daryl, can you let us know how we can get a hold of you, if anyone would like to reach out to you directly?
Sure. Yeah. You can reach out to me on my email, daryl@pfmfreight.com or 587-897-7379.
Right on. Thanks so much. And everybody, please make sure you come on back for our next episode. We're going to keep on talking with Daryl about supporting that culture of workplace mental health. Thanks a ton. The movement for better workplaces starts with one action, yours. Thank you for listening to the Flourishing Workplace Podcast, and keep thriving. At Flourishing Workplace, we're changing the world by changing the workplace.